Hey up guys, welcome to the only place where you're going to get wrestling content from a blind person's point of view. This is Wrestling in the Dark and it's time to talk about AEW's Dynamite episode 4. It's got both semi-final matchups in the tag title tournament. Dr. Britt Baker returns to her hometown, Kenny Omega takes on Joey Janela, and the Bastard Pack takes on Jon Moxley in the main event. I didn't like last week's show as much as the previous shows, so can they pick it back up this week? You're going to have to stick around to find out. I'll tell you something I did like though, it was the opening to this show. We had a cold open with Justin Roberts doing the announcements for the teams, the championship semi-final announcements. It made it feel really big and special. The crowd was instantly hype, I was instantly into it, and it just made it feel really, really important. So I actually really appreciated that opening, because they could have opened with the Dynamite video package or whatever. They could have had the commentary talking to us, but just it opening and Justin Roberts just instantly being there announcing it, I thought was just a really nice touch. Excalibur was on the ball in the opening moments to this. I do like when he calls the very opening moments of the match, because it just helps ease into it and helps me actually feel like there's a build rather than it just being silence and then telling us when there's an important move. But the bell rings and Mark Quinn pretty much immediately hits a leapfrog. Then he hits a tiaras and an quote ultra athletic dropkick before hitting a German suplex. Cassidy gets taken off the apron, but it's not long before we get, quote, huge elevation from Mark Quinn, and he tags in his partner. Cassidy comes in, hits a Hurricane Rana on Pentagon. Then we get this sequence that ends in a stomp to the back of the head, which sounded pretty cool, and then JR, I'm pretty sure, called it a curb stomp. I always thought that was just a WWE thing, that was the name they called it, but apparently JR is allowed to say it, so it mustn't be trademarked or anything like that. Cassidy hits an enziguri, Private Party hits silly string, and then a 450 splash, and we get the first near fall of the match. Actually, Tony did play up the fact that we hadn't had any covers up until this point. I actually thought that was pretty cool, both teams knowing that they can't put the other one down yet, so not even trying for a near fall, because they know that they're not going to get it and they don't want to expend the energy. I like that. Commentary sort of falls off for the next couple of minutes, and we get something happens, and the commentators are just like, wow. Like, all three of them at one point were like, wow, just reacting to it. Then Excalibur's plugging something, and he pauses to just go, ooh, and then quote, this agility from Ray Phoenix. But before long, we get a dropkick Poison Rana combo, and Ray Phoenix hits some sort of mystery dive that they didn't call, and shortly after that we get a package pile driver for the near fall. I think I'm pretty sure it was some sort of driver. I assumed it was the package pile driver. I couldn't really catch it because everyone was reacting to it, so, but I assume it was the package pile driver. I got really frustrated at this point. The JR's just waffling on about how athletic everyone in the ring is, and I can hear the crowd reacting to moves. Like, the crowd are like, ooh, oh, ah, and JR's just like, how athletic are all these people? And I was like, just, someone please just call the match. JR also starts talking about the tag rules with the Lucha Libre, and they sort of have a little back and forth about that, about how in Mexico they don't really tag as much, and JR's like, how much sense does that make? And I was like, none. I really didn't understand the point. Like, I understand why they were trying to tell us, but they didn't explain it in a clear way at all, and I just didn't get it. I assume basically the point is, in Lucha Libre, the tag partner just does sort of whatever they want and it's all left to the ref. But anyway, the fact that JR just didn't even know that was sort of entertaining. Then we get this sequence that was pretty cool. I couldn't get down many of the moves, but it ends in a blind tag, and I thought that was pretty cool. One of the members of Private Party hits a middle rope springboard Hurricane Rana. Cassidy takes Pentagon off the apron. Then he hits an Asai moonsault and then a Jaeger bomb. You know, you'd think with Private Party being less known, that the commentary would explain their moves a little bit more. What is a Jaeger bomb? Is it a Vader bomb? There's lots of different types of bombs in wrestling. I would like to know. But yeah, it hits the Jaeger bomb for a near fall. Cassidy hits a soul butt, and then he gets... oh god, 1 second, let me check. Just had to check my notes. Sometimes it just absolutely leaves my head because of how many notes I have to make. Yeah, Cassidy hits a stunner, a soul butt, a tornado over the top rope, and then he hits a shooting star press for the near fall. Then JR's talking about the time limit. Is just talking about how important the time limit is, and I can hear the crowd reacting to moves, and I was like, oh, for God's sake. Phoenix gets an arm capture and then gets them up into the fireman's carry, and they hit a gory bomb leg drop combo. Not long after, though, Private Party start firing back. We get a back-flipping enziguri and a gin and juice, but it's not on the legal member. Then Pentagon hits a leapfrog, a sling blade, and a powerbomb on the outstretched knee. Pentagon counters the gin and juice into a destroyer. Phoenix runs the ropes and hits Mark Quinn in the face, and Pentagon snaps the arm, and we get a package pile driver foot stomp combo for the win. I actually really liked this match. There were some down parts with the commentary. There was some parts where they really sort of lacked, especially in the middle. I think that when the stakes aren't high, Excalibur just doesn't really care as much, but I didn't feel like I missed anything important in this. I feel like all of the little moves and the story beats, I feel like they communicated it all perfectly, and this made Private Party look really good. After getting that shock win in the first round and then coming and putting in a performance like this against the Lucha Brothers, which most people will tout as the best tag team in the world, or at least one of them, I just think that this made them look really good, as well as making the Lucha Brothers look really good as well, because, you know, they just out teamworked Private Party. There wasn't anything, you know, Private Party didn't mess up. There wasn't anything. They've got no shame in this defeat, is what I'm trying to say, and I think that it was a really cool match and a really good way of opening up the show. Now, a creative decision that I found sort of weird was that they launched straight into the other semi-final match, and I was just really shocked by this, because I was expecting these matches to bookend the show. I know that they wanted to have Pac and Mox in the main event, but this was just a real shock that they went straight into the semi-final match, just getting the tag title tournament matches out of the way. So yeah, it's SCU versus Dark Order next. As SCU are making their entrance, the commentary put over the fact that Christopher Daniels is out at the minute. He's at home, injured due to the attack by the Lucha Brothers last week, and will be out for 6 to 8 weeks. They even play it up as like, good news, he is moving, he is able to move, it's fine. Now, I don't know what the deal is with Christopher Daniels. I don't know whether he's actually injured, whether they've you know, whether he wants time off. Well, if this is all just kayfabe and he's willing to take 6 to 8 weeks off to sell that attack, then that's commitment, and I think that'll be pretty cool if they start doing things like that, wiping people off TV for a week or two or more for some sort of injury, some sort of attack to sell it. Although, you know, Kenny Omega went through a glass table and he's fine, so but yeah, Daniel's out for 6 to 8 weeks. I thought that was a pretty cool little wrinkle to this, as well as the fact that Tony talks about the fact that Sky and Kazarian have tagged together far less than Kazarian and Daniels, saying that they've only actually tagged together 14 times in the last 2 years, compared to Kazarian and Daniels, who have been tagging since 2012, I think they said. I actually really do appreciate the input from Tony sometimes. That was a nice little bit of analytical information that I found pretty interesting, and definitely added a layer to this match, knowing that they're not quite as experienced with the tagging. the commentary for this match was definitely not as on the ball as with this opening one. It was one of the reasons that I thought it was a bit weird that they were going straight into the semi-final match, because, you know, commentaries just had to expend so much effort on that opening match. The crowd's all burnt out. It was a really weird decision for me. But anyway, Excalibur tries to call the opening moments of the match, and JR just full on cuts him up, like talks over him and more or less tells him to shut up so he can say whatever he's trying to say. We get a knee to the side of the head to Kazarian, and then we get a casual near fall, and Grayson takes Kazarian off his feet for another basically non-existent near fall. Then commentary talk about the fact that Dark Order disappeared for a while. They were on the scene and then they disappeared, and where did they go? And now they got the creepers, and they're all creepy and scary and just really, really convoluted backstory. And I don't care. They haven't made me care with it at all yet. So it was just like, come on, get to the match. I don't care about the creepers. Then Sky gets sent into the steel steps head first. As we're going for commercial break, JR says, "Don't go away, this is a tag title match," and it really, really made me laugh. Then commercial comes back, and Dark Order are in control, and we get a chop to the throat, I think, by Evil Uno, and then the Inner Circle show up with tickets, and I really like the fact that they just showed up during this. I was like, ooh, are we going to get some sort of wonk finish, or I'm not even sure what they're supposed to be called, but are the Inner Circle, Santana and Ortiz, are they going to get put in the finals? Is something going to happen here? And it did add a real sort of ominous feel to it with them watching over, and I really liked that, the fact that they came in waving the tickets around like, we're allowed to be here, don't try and kick us out. Just this was the first time that I've actually thought that the Inner Circle came across as sort of cool during this episode. Before, I've been like, oh, the Inner Circle? Like, really, that name? But during this show, I actually thought that they came across as pretty cool. Sky gets his eye gouged by Evil Uno and gets hit with a clubbing blow. Then we get a tag to Kazarian at some point. Kazarian comes off the ropes with a high right hand, and he begins this sequence which is pretty cool and ends with a leg drop that I thought was pretty good and definitely well called by Excalibur, and probably the lone exception of a really cool call in this match. Kazarian goes to the top rope, but Grayson goes after him, captures him, brings him down, sweeps the leg. Sky gets thrown into Kazarian. Then JR's trying to talk about the Dark Order at some point and almost calls them the Evil Order. We get a sit-out powerbomb, and then in probably one of the coolest spots of the match, in fact, no, I will say it was the coolest spot, we get SCU hitting double cutters, rolling through into the Dragon Sleepers, and then whichever one the bigger one of Dark Order is manages to power out of the Dragon Sleeper and throw whichever SCU member was on him into the other set of partners. I just thought that was actually pretty cool. I do actually like tandem offense, the way that it's been presented in AEW. When they actually call it, it just makes it seem really, really cool. Excalibur's like, Grayson, ooh, Grayson has it, great agility, and I was like, I hate those sorts of calls. Then Dark Order are looking for the fatality, but SCU manage to counter, and they get a big DDT, and shortly afterwards they hit the SCU later, which, again, don't know what that is. I do wish that AEW would treat these sort of matches like people don't know who the people are. At the end of the day, there are going to be people who are tuning into TNT that haven't watched wrestling in years. They want that lapsed fan, so maybe just maybe make things like that a little bit clearer. It's not like they have to be like, oh, the SCU later is like whatever it is. They can just be like, they hit that move, the SCU later, or whatever. I don't know how to explain what I mean, but I just wish that they would make it clearer what those sorts of moves are. I like that moves have names in wrestling, but at the same time it does make it hard to sort of visualise when it's just a name. So the final set is the Lucha Brothers versus SCU, and I've got to say, they did advertise it a little bit by making Lucha Brothers attack SCU last week. It was sort of obvious that they were the two that they were setting up rivalries for, and there was never really a part of me that thought Dark Order was going to win. This match, crowd chanted, "This is awesome," so I assume it was probably a good match, but commentary really, really laid down. They definitely slipped up after that first match where they called it almost perfectly, other than just a few little things. This one, they definitely let down, and it's such a shame because they both felt like important matches, so I wish that they just hadn't had them back to back so commentary wouldn't have been so tired. So one of the things that I noticed in this match between Kenny Omega and Joey Janela, which is what they had next, is the fact that in the opening moments they really played up the fact that Joey can wrestle, and I find it sort of defensive. Like in the in the last couple of weeks, they've had Jimmy and Darby going head to head. Now they've got Janela on TV, and they've really been trying to play up on the fact that these hardcore wrestlers can actually wrestle. And I gotta say, just as someone that doesn't take this as like a really serious thing, I don't care. These hardcore wrestlers, I don't need them to be able to skin the cat or whatever, or get a standing switch. If you're watching these hardcore wrestlers, you're watching because you want to watch a certain genre of wrestling, and they shouldn't need to feel like they have to prove themselves. And granted, they probably do because people are always giving them shit for it. But at the same time, when you're constantly bringing it up on TV like, I promise they can wrestle, oh, they got great fundamentals, don't get mistaken just because they're hardcore wrestlers, they're not, they can wrestle, I promise. It's like, okay, shut up. I had no doubt that they could wrestle, I just assumed that they didn't want to because they like getting hit with barbed wire because they're crazy. So the match starts, we get the opening feeling out process, wrestling, that sort of thing. Omega hits a Pescada to the outside. Excalibur starts talking about the fact that he's a temporal wizard, that he can control time in the ring. I was like, what the hell, Excalibur? Then we get Omega going for a move. Joey dodges and hits a pair of running uppercuts. Then he hits a low drop kick. He goes up top and he hits a diving cross body, which he then gets Omega in the ring and gets a near fall. They go to commercial, and when they come back, Omega has taken control, and I was like, how WWE of you, AEW? I don't know, I just don't like when we have this. Someone is control, commercial break, the other person's in control. It's just such a formulaic setup with wrestling. Anyway, Omega sends Janela into the turnbuckle face first, hits him with a Snapdragon suplex. Then Janela starts fighting back, gets a standing switch and a back elbow before he goes up top and hits an elbow drop for the near fall. And most of that, from the standing switch and the back elbow to the elbow drop, was called by JR. I was like, what's up, JR? Do you like Joey Janela or something? Because he was on the ball during this match in terms of actually calling a few things that Excalibur missed, and I was like, God, he must be a fan of Joey Janela or something. Janela goes up to the top rope and he's showboating, so he falls off and he gets hit with a Snapdragon suplex and another move for a near fall. Then he manages to counter a V-trigger, and we get a sequence that ends in a Fisherman's Buster, but both men are too tired to go for the cover, which I thought was pretty cool. Then Janela takes a big move on the apron because he goes up to the top rope and gets pushed off and takes a bump on the apron, and he gets hit with a V-trigger and the one-winged angel for the win. I thought this was sort of like a 4 out of 6. I was going into it, I was like, God, if I don't enjoy this match, I'm going to be a bitter bastard on the review, because I was looking forward to it. I've been quite intrigued by Janela. I'm starting to get quite invested in Omega, so it was just like, if I don't enjoy this match, I'm going to be annoyed. Now, the commentary didn't do the best of jobs, but they picked up on the things that I needed to know. So even though it wasn't great, it was still fairly enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to seeing some more from Joey Janela, because his matches seem to be pretty good. I'll give AEW this. I was at this point like, can we have some sort of story now? Because I've enjoyed the stories being told in the ring. I liked the opening semi-final match. It wasn't as much for the second one, but I've been enjoying the matches, but I wanted some story progression, and we actually did get some now in what was a really, really cool segment. So we get AEW's big dog Cody Rhodes coming out for an interview with Tony Schiavone, and Tony's like, "Oh, I heard you've got a big announcement, Cody." Cody's like, "Yeah, I got a big announcement." Starts talking, "I'm honoured to blah blah blah. I get the opportunity to blah blah blah," but he just can't get his words out because the inner circle are sitting booing, shouting, setting off little clacks and horn sort of things. It was brilliant every time. Every time he tried to start talking, it's like boo, boo, just a load of, just all of them just really trying to distract him like proper juvenile delinquents. It was so juvenile, but also really, really amusing. I know that my good friend Sky will have wanted to punch Jericho in the face during this segment. It was brilliant. He gets on the mic, Cody gets on the mic, sorry, and he's like, "Jericho, this isn't like that other place that we both came from, and that's not an invisible wall. I can easily come up there and fight you right now." I thought it was a bit of a weird dig at WWE. I wasn't really sure what he was getting at, like the barrier, the crowd barrier being like a hidden wall. I don't, Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman literally clashed recently from the crowd, and I've seen multiple times where people have gone up and fought in the crowd. I'm just not really sure what the point was, but Jericho reminds Cody that it's 4-on-1, and then we get a series of sort of just a comedy routine of Jericho slowly digging himself a grave because he's like, it's 4-on-1, and then Dustin comes out and he's like, fine, it's 4-on-2, and then MJF comes out, he's like, well, it's still 4-on-3. And that's when DDP comes out. He gets a good ovation, and that's when the brawl breaks out because Inner Circle hide in like the VIP box, but I'm pretty sure that Cody broke through the glass and went after them anyway, and we get this brawl. Sammy and MJF square off, so we might actually get a match between them, which could be pretty cool. And security had to drag Cody away, and it all worked really, really well. I thought this segment was just a proper, really good, entertaining, brawling segment. Jericho as this stupid bully that doesn't know when to shut the fuck up is brilliant, and I just thought that this was really entertaining. It actually led to Cody being taken to a holding cell, quote unquote, which is really cool. That they seem to be like playing up the fact that Cody really shouldn't have done that, because I was like, they don't own that VIP box. If he's just broken the glass, surely he now owes the stadium. But yeah, apparently the stadium had the had the power to get him in a holding cell that they for some reason have in the arena. What a segment. The Inner Circle just positioning themselves as proper high school bullies, and Cody just feeds right into it. Just really gets wound up. Like, he should have just either carried on his announcement or just left or something, because he played right into Jericho's hands here. And the Inner Circle actually got some good heat from the crowd, which I was quite happy about. Looked pretty cool in this segment. The Best Friends get a jobber entrance so that the Young Bucks can get their big, nice entrance with the pyro and the crowd ovating them. Just really, really, I'm starting to get sort of Roman Reigns syndrome with all of them already. That's why I called Cody the big dog. The fact that Best Friends got a jobber entrance here, I was like, that is terrible. That is terrible. Orange Cassidy comes out with them beforehand, and he is like sort of getting in the face, and he super kicks one of the Bucks, but eats a receipt from that. Pretty cool that Best Friends are coming across as a little bit heely at the minute. I was sort of expecting Orange Cassidy to come in and be this wacky sort of character, and although he's got that casualness to him in terms of doing all the moves with the hands in his pockets and stuff. They seem to have a bit of a nasty attitude, and I do like that. There was some clunky commentary in this match. So match starts and we get JR with sort of a halfway good call as he's like, oh, double cutters, nice teamwork there, but doesn't say which team did it. A high rising knee strike takes Chuck off the apron, and then we get this little bit with Excalibur where he's like, oh, Nick was every bit as equal there, as we see the explosivity from the youngest buck, or the middle buck, we should say. And I'm like, what? There's more bucks? As is one of the commentators. I don't get the joke. I really didn't, and I don't think that Tony did either, which is pretty funny. We get a rolling neck breaker / back breaker combo, and for the near fall, and JR and Tony just waffle on for like at least 30-40 seconds about how synchronized the bucks are. We get a running elbow strike by Chuck on the outside. Then we get a doomsday knee by the best friends. Chuck gets planted on the apron with a big DDT, and commentary plays up that Matt is staring a hole through Orange Cassidy, which I think is pretty cool. They're setting up some sort of singles match between Matt and Orange Cassidy. I think that could be a pretty interesting one, especially for Orange's first match. I haven't actually got to see anything from him yet, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got to offer in an actual match. So I like that they seem to be setting up a little bit of a rivalry there. They go to commercial break, and when they get back, one of the Jacksons is going for a 450 splash, but he gets hit with a German suplex. Chuck tries to hit a set of belly to bellies. He hits 2 of them but doesn't get the 3rd one, so he hits sliced bread and a power bomb for the near fall. Nick hits a sledge to the spine, and then someone, I'm not sure who because I'm really not familiar enough to know whose moveset this is from, but someone gets hit with the Falcon Arrow, and commentary are like, no one kicks out of the Falcon Arrow, but they did this time. Chuck goes up top and Matt intercepts him, but Trent comes over and hits Matt with a avalanche German suplex. Shortly after, best friends get that soul food half and half combination. Then Matt gets hit with a Storm Zero, but Nick breaks it up. We get a super kick party shortly afterwards, and then a more bang for your buck for the win. I did enjoy this. I didn't think the commentary did the best job, and I did think that it made it seem a little bit I'm not really sure of the word. I was going to say pathetic, but that seems a bit strong. It seemed a little bit sad that they played up the fact that this was basically a consolation prize because they both got knocked out of the tag title tournament. Like, that's why they were facing each other. But I am getting invested in the Young Bucks. I do like their matches so far. I wasn't a massive fan of their style with the Lucha Brothers, but not everyone's as crazy as those two are, so they can't wrestle that crazy of a match every time. And I do like the tandem offense that they've got, like the neck breaker, back breaker combo, and all the different moves that they do. I did think that it just sort of advertised the fact that Bucks were going to win this one because Best Friends got the jobber entrance, which again is sort of just funny because it's like, oh, the Elite get the special entrances and everyone else is just sort of, you can get a jobber entrance if you want. But yeah, I thought this one was a fairly decent match. It passed a bit of time, I guess, and wasn't terrible, so that's good. The women's match is next, and I don't really want to talk about it because it was so boring, and I do hate saying that because I love women's wrestling and I wish that they would just use the women's division better than this. We get a video package with Britt Baker, and that is actually fairly cool. The package shows how far she's come, that it's come full circle now. She's back in Pittsburgh, and it's where she started and did all of her training, etc., etc. And they really play up the fact that she's a hometown girl, and it makes it look pretty cool. But then she gets to take on Jamie Hayter, and it's just basically an extended squash match. Going into the commercial break, basically nothing happens. Hayter tries to lock in a sleeper hold at some point, and she hits a running knee. That's basically all that I have from her offense. Baker hits a fall away slam at some point. She it hits an ace crusher, super kick, and gets that lockjaw in. Commentary was really lax during this. They weren't paying attention at all. There was points where it was like 40, 50 seconds between each move, and it was just really boring. So I'm not going to stick around on this bit one for too much. So now it's the main event. It's the Bastard Pac versus Jon Moxley, and my god, is Justin Roberts' entrance for Jon Moxley really, really obnoxious. It's like Greg Hamilton's intro for Shane O'Mac, but it's just for Jon Moxley instead, and it's so nasal and long, and it's just like, just call him John. Just call him John. I hate having to hear that, and we're gonna have to hear it for like the next however many years. But this started off really, really cool. Mox is making his entrance, and Pac comes out, levels him in the back of the head with a chair, chokes him out with his jacket, throws him into the barricades, and just beats him up before the match because he's so pissed off that Mox hit him with that paradigm shift last week and, give him a loss on the record. I just made it seem really cool. I was expecting Moxley to be the one that comes out intense here, but Pac really is just like, no, fuck you, I'm taking you out. Everything before the commercial break is basically Pac, who hits a step-up enziguri basically as soon as the bell goes. So he hits the enziguri, goes up to the top, looks for the black arrow, but Moxley is rolled out of the ring. He hits a tope over the ropes, but lands effortlessly on his feet. Those are Excalibur's words, not mine. Then, just sort of out of nowhere, Mox starts firing back up, hitting shots, backs Pac up into the corner, but Pac counters with some kicks and a soul butt for the near fall, and that's when it goes into the commercial break. When they come back from the break, they big themselves up with the fact that they're trending #1 on Twitter, and then we get someone getting a clean shot to the head. Shortly afterwards, someone gets a shooting star press for the near fall. I just sort of assumed that one was Pac. The commentary didn't say, but I can't see Mox hitting a shooting star press, so I definitely don't think that it was him. Pac's looking for a German suplex on the apron, but Mox just counters with a bulldog, and Excalibur sells this as being a disgusting angle with him coming down head first on the apron, and they definitely like using the apron in AEW. They like those big high impact spots, and they've used it multiple times through this show. Never mind in the previous shows. But yeah, I really liked that, countering a German suplex with a bulldog, and credit to Pac for just taking that sort of bump on the apron when he's not even like a hardcore guy. Pac hits a big shot on Mox, but Mox hits like 10 of them back. Pac just was nowhere near firing off the amount of shots that Mox was in this. Then we get a pump kick from Pac, but shortly afterwards Mox hits the big massive lariat that he's been hitting, that every time he does, JR screams that it turns someone inside out. He's hit it a few times now, and so I'm just going to call it the inside out lariat because that's what they seem to be going with. And then Mox hits a regal knee and a suicide dive, and that's when Justin Roberts says that 5 minutes are remaining, and that's where these two go into overdrive because they know that they need to hit that big move for the win. Mox hits a black hole, whatever that is, and then he employs a clover leaf, but Pac manages to get to the ropes with 4 minutes remaining. Then Mox tries to go up to the top rope, and he gets caught by Pac, who hits some sort of avalanche move with 3 minutes remaining. With 2 minutes remaining, Pac hits goes for a black arrow, but John has moved out of the way. 450 splash on the outside, and another black arrow attempt with 1 minute left, but no dice again. And then with 40 seconds left, Moxley hits the paradigm shift, goes for the cover, gets the cover within the last 10 seconds, but Pac kicks out and the time runs out, and it ends in a time limit draw. You know what? I was really, really hoping that it'd be this. Well, No, I hadn't consciously thought, I hope that it's a time limit draw, but I said to the indie correspondent, Glenn Harding, last night, neither of these can take a loss. I don't want to see them take a loss, and neither did AEW, because they ended it in a time limit draw, and I'm telling you now, I am looking forward to seeing this rivalry extend even more. Moxley snaps after the match and hits the ref, I think, because commentary put over the fact that that's going to cost him money, whatever he did. But I really, really liked this. I thought that everything from 5 minutes remaining was great. It really felt like it was fast-paced, high impact. Both men trying to score the big win, and it really felt like the ticking clock was just adding some drama to it, as well as Pac really laying it in before the match, trying to make sure that he can beat up Mox as much as he can to soften him up. The athleticism from Pac on display, the brawling, the strikes, these two really, really have captured my attention. It probably helps that they're ex-WWE people. I do like that they've been, reinvented on the independent scene or whatever, and now we get this version of them where they're both just sort of tough, evil bastards that are just going to slug it out and try and hurt each other until one of them finally gives in. I thought that this main event was definitely one of the best matches on the show, other than that semi-final at the beginning of the show. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how Mox and Pac, how their rivalry unfolds in the future. Yeah, it was a good episode. The semi-final at the beginning was really, really good, and I was quite impressed with the commentary, but I've sort of learnt now not to expect too much from them, because it seems like when the stakes aren't high, when it doesn't really matter, Excalibur doesn't feel like he has to try. That first opening week, he was so on the ball with it because it really, really mattered, but then in the two consecutive weeks after that, he's just not really tried, other than in the really important matches like the Young Bucks Private Party match, like the semi-final matches last week, and this week it felt like the same sort of thing, with trying really hard during that semi-final match and then really only calling the big moves in the matches, the big spots, none of the minutiae or the little details, which are the bits that I actually really like. So yeah, I found it a bit of a mixed episode. The bit with Britt Baker was so pointless and boring, which really makes me sad, because I want to like the AEW women's division. I would happily have it be intergender, so that's how much I like the women's wrestling. So it just really disappoints me that they're putting this much effort, this little effort in, I should say. But then that main event was really cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. So all in all, I'd give it a 4 out of 6 for the whole show, just because there was some bits that really let it down, but there were other bits that actually shined. If you've enjoyed this episode, click that like button, let me know, and if you have any questions or you want to share your thoughts, you know where the comments section is, or you can follow me on Twitter at Mason_WITD, or you can join the Discord server, the link for which will be in the description. And if you want to stay up to date with these AEW reviews, make sure you subscribe for more, and then you'll be updated with the commentary rankings in the coming days. Right guys, I'm off, and you should have a good one.